The Showa era. When you think of this era, what are some kaiju that come to mind? Godzilla, Gamera, Rodan, Mechagodzilla? Well, these are all understandable, but one that people seemingly overlook or sometimes outright forget is Kong. King Kong was Godzilla's second on-screen enemy, and was the first kaiju to outright beat Godzilla. But how would he hold up in modern day? Many things have changed from the slow, lumbering Showa era to the modern, agile kaiju of the Monsterverse. Would he be able to hold his ground, or would he make like a banana and split? Hello everybody, I'm Godzilla Guy, and that's what we'll be discussing today. Could Showa-era Kong survive Monsterverse's Skull Island? Let's find out. Firstly, we'll be assuming this is a composite Kong, bringing together the aspects of King Kong Escapes and King Kong vs. Godzilla. He will be the height of the incarnation from King Kong vs. Godzilla, and will have the abilities from both films. Now we need to look at Kong's strengths and weaknesses. Firstly, he has some background knowledge when it comes to fighting other kaiju. Since taking both films into account, he's fought Godzilla, Mechanicon, Gorosaurus, the giant octopus, and the giant sea serpent. However, we won't be letting him use his lightning ability, since this involves him being hit by lightning, which is really rare. So just base Kong. Now finally, this time I swear, let's see what he's up against, and how he holds up. Week 1. In the first week, Kong will fight the Skull Island Giant Crocodile, the Spirit Tiger, and one juvenile Skullcrawler. Firstly, the Skull Island Giant Crocodile. Kong would fare well in this fight, not being much of a challenge for him due to his size over the croc. Kong would just step on it or just pick it up with both of his hands and tear him in half. Secondly, the Spirit Tiger. Now, Kong can counter the Spirit Tiger very well. The Spirit Tiger's main ability is his hallucinogenic aura, which makes his targets feel euphoric and dizzy. Luckily, Kong has faced a very similar ability in the past thanks to fighting Mechanicon, which was Mechanicong's hypnotic light. Though he did subdue Kong for a little bit, he'll go into the fight knowing what to do if he goes under hypnosis. And thanks to his high durability, the Tiger can only do so much. Eventually, once Kong comes down from his high, he'll just grab the Tiger and throw it at the ground. And finally, the juvenile Skullcrawler. This is where Kong might have a bit of a challenge. Though Kong has faced agile foes in the past, like the giant sea serpent, he hasn't faced something this agile. The Skullcrawler would wrap its body around Kong, starting to constrict him, and of course biting deep into his skin at the same time. After some struggle, Kong would be able to break free, and either grab his tail and slam him into the ground over and over, or just find a big rock and bashing his head in. With low difficulty, Kong survives the first week. Week 2 through 3. In the next 2 weeks, Kong will fight a killer chameleon, the giant hawk, and our first big contender, the Meyer squid. Sometime into the second week, Kong will face the killer chameleon. Without any time wasted, the killer chameleon will lunge at Kong, biting and tearing up his flesh. Kong will do the usual and grab him and throw him at the ground. But this time, it won't do anything, since these chameleons have an insane durability and pain tolerance. Kong will have to do a little bit more than just punch and stomp for this fight. Thankfully, as we see in King Kong vs. Godzilla, Kong is quite smart and resourceful, being able to use a tree as a tool against Godzilla. Kong can find bones laying on the ground. He grabs them and goes into a defensive position. The killer chameleon once again jumps at Kong, but before he can land a hit, Kong impales the 2 bones through the chameleon's body, one through the head and one through the chest, finally killing the lizard. Next is the giant hawk. Now this is where Kong won't really know what to do at the start, since he has never faced a flyer before. But after a little while, he'll just grab it when the bird tries to attack him and stomp on it, easily killing it. And finally, the Meyer squid. This will be Kong's biggest challenge yet, due to the Meyer squid's extreme strength and agility. Now Kong has faced a giant octopus in the past, so this won't be impossible. But the Meyer squid is much larger and actually knows how to fight. Though Kong would have difficulty, he could still win if he implemented his battle strategies he used against the giant sea serpent and the giant octopus at the same time, being able to break free from his constriction and biting into his tentacles. Overall, Kong would win, but it would be very tough. With a medium to high difficulty, Kong survives the second and third week on Skull Island. And finally, the first through third month. In this amount of time, Kong will face the big 3 of Skull Island: the Skull Devil, the Kraken, and Camazotz. Firstly, the Skull Devil. Thankfully, at this point, he's already fought the Skullcrawlers, so he more or less just has to use the same tactics against this one, though it will be more difficult due to his size. The Skull Devil is by far the largest kaiju he's faced yet, coming in at almost 200 feet long. Though, like I said already, as long as Kong is able to do what he did against the smaller Skullcrawlers, he should be able to hold his ground. Next is the Kraken, which I hate to say, but this is where Kong stops. Though Kong has fought in the water before, when fighting Godzilla and the giant sea serpent, the Kraken would just overwhelm him. Firstly, due to his gargantuan size, and also due to the fact that he can use his tentacles to subdue Kong, and eventually drown him. So overall, he's above the Skull Devil, but underneath the Kraken, Camazotz, and Monsterverse Kong. Now maybe if he had his electric powers, he would beat the Kraken, but even with them, I don't think he'd be able to beat Camazotz. Going off script here, I apologize for the shorter videos. I write these really long scripts, and I think they'd be a really long video, but no, they're like 5-6 minutes. But I do have a versus battle video, hopefully coming up next week, which should be longer, so yeah. I hope you all enjoyed. And let me know if you want to see where Showa Godzilla would stand in the general Monsterverse. As always, keep collecting, everybody. Godzilla Guy out. See ya.
Get out the way, get out the way, bitch, get out the way.